Welcome to this exciting webinar, Between the Lines, a professional career workshop for screenwriters and scriptwriters. We're thrilled to have you join us today on this webinar by the entertainment practice team of Olisabakuba Lega. We at Olisabakuba Lega will commit to providing insightful and practical guidance to individuals across various industries. Today, we are particularly excited to delve into the world of creative storytelling with this workshop specifically designed for screenwriters and scriptwriters. Now, I would like to tell you a bit about Olisabakuba Lega. Olisabakuba Lega is a leading law firm in Nigeria renowned for its expertise in a wide range of legal areas, including intellectual property, entertainment law and media law, dispute resolution, corporate advisory, among others. We understand the unique challenges and opportunities faced by creative professionals, and we are dedicated to provide them with the legal support they need to thrive. For today's workshop, we have assembled a distinguished panel of guests. Each of our esteemed panelists brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, offering valuable insights on navigating the intricacies of the writing world. To our participants, we are incredibly grateful to have a diverse and passionate group of writers and scriptwriters and enthusiasts and persons who equally want to get into that particular to join us today. This workshop is a platform for you to learn, connect, and be inspired. We encourage everyone to actively participate, ask questions, and engage in fruitful discussions with our experts and fellow participants. We believe that this workshop will equip you with the tools and knowledge to take your screenwriting and scriptwriting careers to the next level. So let's delve in and explore the exciting world of Between the Lines. So once again, welcome. So I will allow my colleague, Cheung, to take over from here. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So just to give an overview, an extended overview about the workshop, just as Emmanuel already gave, this is Between the Lines. And Between the Lines is a professional career workshop for screenwriters and scriptwriters with an extended target audience to manuscript writers, creatives, talents, entertainment lawyers, songwriters, and any relevant stakeholder of the creative and entertainment industry. This workshop, as Emmanuel has already emphasized, is organized and hosted by the one and only Olisa Agbakoba Lega Entertainment Practice Group to empower our target audience and participants in the creative industry by providing you with the essential knowledge, insights, and experience, storyboarding and animatics, how to tell a compelling story, character design and development, and most especially, the legal consideration as applicable to the field. The format of the workshop is definitely going to be interactive with our line of awesome speakers in the field. We have 2 speakers today and also another 2 speakers and facilitators tomorrow across the country, as a matter of fact. The workshop is going to be streamlined with case studies, questions and answers, and definitely the participants will be free to ask any questions, any remark based on the speaking or the insights shared by our speakers. And at the particular time when we want to start the section by our speakers, our participants in our audience will be allowed to put their questions in the questions and answer chat box on the Zoom platform. And there will also be dedicated time to networking, so you get to meet other people in the industry. Then moving on to the introduction of the guest speakers for today, I am extremely excited first about the workshop and most especially about our speakers. For today, as Elia said, we have 2 awesome speakers, 2 gentlemen. First, we have the person in person of Mr. Ayodele Elegba, who is the founder of the famous Lagos Comic Convention and is going to be taking the topic storyboarding and animatics. And we also have for the second section for today, Mr. Xavier Igoroji, who is the author and the creator, the head writer of the famous shanty town. Apparently, the only shanty town I know in Nigeria is the head writer and the creator of Shantytown, and is going to be taking us the journey of the topic creative character design and development. And just to emphasize that we're going to be having Mr. Ayodele Elegba first, who is going to take us for 40 minutes of our interactive section. And after that one, we're going to be having the questions and answer. Then lastly, we take Mr. Xavier, who is going to be taking his topic, character design and development. And then we will have our questions and answer, and then we're happy to for between the lines for day one. There's going to be another section tomorrow, which we're going to be having our list speakers tomorrow. So that's more or less about the overview, how the section is going to run today. So moving on, and without further ado, there's going to be a reading of the bio to call on the first speaker, and then I'm going to call on my associate colleague, Adedoja, to read the bio of the first speaker, Mr. Ayodele Elegba, and then the voice you're going to be hearing after the reading of the bio will be no other but that of Mr. Ayodele Elegba, the founder of the one and only, or the famous Lagos Comic Convention. So Adedoja, up to you, please.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Adedoja Lawi. I'm an associate at Olisagba Legal. So I have the honor and the privilege to read the bio of Mr. Ayodele Elegba. Mr. Ayodele Elegba, fondly known as the dream maker amongst Nigerian comics and animation industry, is a seasoned veteran in the Nigerian comic and animation industry. He began his comic career as a writer in 1999 after a brief stint in the Nigerian and movie industry, and has since gone on to create many of the successful comic titles and characters like Strike Guard, Vantage, Boxer, Jinx, Voyager, and so on in Nigeria. He's also the producer and director of various highly acclaimed short film animation such as Ajaka, Lost in Rome, Eurocop, Strike Guard, Voyager, and many more. He has also been the brain, both producer and director of production of several television animated series, such as When I Grow Up, Area Daddy, and Tolly Tale Animation. Elegba founded the Lagos Comic Convention in 2012 with attendance strength of 300. Coordinating and inspiring a dedicated team, he has grown the event to a gathering of over 4,000 gigs in 2017. The event is currently tagged widely as the biggest geek/pop culture festival in Africa, serving as both an umbrella and a launch pad for the diverse and immensely talented players in the Nigerian comics and animation industry. Mr. Ayodele Elegba is also the president of the Association of Comic Makers of Nigeria, a body that seeks to promote the interest of Nigerian comic creators all over the globe. Mr. Ayodele Elegba has given several talks with presentations all over the world on comics, animation, and his passion to see young talent in the creative space. And his passion to see young talents in the creative space drives him daily to mentor hundreds across various platforms annually. He is the founder and managing director of Spoof Animation, a leading animation and content producer in comics and animation in Nigeria, which he founded in 2015. Without further ado, and with all the ovation, while I am standing and sitting, I give and present to you Mr. Ayodele Elegba. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shion. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Olabisi. And Adedoja as well. Hope you can hear me clearly.
Very well. We can.
Hope you guys can hear me.
Very well.
Yes, we can.
Hear you very clear.
But we can't see your video, sir.
My name is Ayo. Sorry?
Your video is not
See your
displaying, sir.
video.
Are you sure?
Very well.
My video is on,
Yes, sir.
right?
But we can't see you. It's not on the.
All
Okay.
right.
You know what,
So, can't see me. You can't see me. No. continue?
Okay, now we can see you. Yes, you can
Yes, you
continue.
can continue. We can see you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Ayodele Elegba.
Ooh.
Elegba meaning Eliting Bani, which is savior. You know, I always have to like
Like the owner of
explain that name, you know,
animation.
every time I
Now,
come.
spoof
Sorry?
animation. Now, one of our clients.
Please go on, Sam. We can hear you.
Okay, all right. So today, it's between the lines. So I actually did a couple of presentations to present today, but I think I'll just go on it by ear, and hopefully I'll be able to say one or two things that will be meaningful to people. I believe that it's a practical class or it's a practical session. So because it's in between the lines, meaning you need people who are in the trenches, who are actually doing the work and who are actually you know, in the gutters as well of this, you know, industry, which is animation. So let's start by, first of all, talking about animation. You know, what is animation actually? You know, animation is a bringing together of drawings or computer images to life. So basically, when animation began several years ago, over 100 years ago, it was hand drawn. You know, and that's profession or technique was perfected by no other than, you know, Walt Disney himself at the Disney Animation Studio, with hand drawings. Okay, with hand drawings, and what it means is animation is you draw several drawings to complete what they will call a second. You know, so a typical animation would probably have like 24 animation drawings if you are doing it in ones, and to be like 12 animation drawings if you're working in twos. But then after the advent of Pixar animation with their first animated movie, Toy Story, things shifted. Animation stopped being just 2D animation. The 3D animation industry was born. And now we have lots of 3D animated series like Frozen, Inside Out, Moana, Shrek, and the rest. Kung Fu Panda as well. Animation is used in a number of things. It's used in movies, like I mentioned some movies already, TV shows, for video games, and for advertising as well. And it combines creativity and technology to tell stories. So animation is very interesting. One of the reasons why I fell in love with animation is because it gives me that godlike power, you know. Every time I see something I have created come alive in animation, I feel like a god, you know, because animators make things move, you know. I remember in the Bible when God breathed onto Adam and said, "Let there be life," you know, and Adam came up and he became a living soul. So I feel like a god also sometimes when I'm animating, and that's the joy for the over 20-something people that work with me here also in spoof animation. We love watching the screen, we love watching the animation come alive, and it's something that really gives us so much joy. The other reason why I like animation is because it allows me to explore my creativity, you know. It helps me to explore my creativity. I'm able to imagine things that can never be imagined. Some things that I have in my dreams, I can bring it and it can become reality. And that's the beauty of animation, you know. And I tell people who have stories, I say, look, if you have a story that you feel live action will not be able to really tell it the way you want it, why don't you go via animation? Because nothing is impossible in animation, okay? And of course, you've seen animation also creep into live action with VFX, that's visual effects and all the rest. So a lot of films now are visual effects driven, and visual effects has its basis in animation as well. Without animation, you can't have a visual effects industry. So the topic for today is storyboarding and animatics. And it's a very interesting topic because a few years ago, a lot of people didn't really know what storyboarding was or what animatics were used for. And practically, they don't even care because they feel as long as I carry my camera and I go on set and I shoot, or as long as I can make things move, I'm fine, I can go. But we've seen that storyboarding has been one of the reasons why most Nigerian productions, whether it's film or animation, has not been able to break the barriers of international and global acceptance. Because storyboarding is like the foundation for whether it's film, animation, gaming, whatever. Storyboarding is very, very important. Even advertising, storyboarding is very, very important. So what is storyboarding? Storyboarding is creating a visual, it's like creating a visual script of your story. And what do I mean? It's like you have a script, you have an idea, it's been written to a script, okay? And of course, you know that there are different kinds of scripts, but for animation, you need a screenplay. You need a screenplay, you know, a screenplay that has been written specifically for. So storyboarding is like bringing that script, bringing it alive and creating a visual script, as it were. But instead of using words, use images. You know, I don't know if that's clear. So it's a series of sketches representing each scene to help us visualize and plan the animation to plan the animation that we want to make. You have a boss who comes from home and he gets to work. Okay, he gets to work and then he sits down, he calls his manager, and then they have a few words and then the manager leaves. Okay, you have that in script, but you need to put it in a storyboard format. So in a storyboard format means you have to, first of all, have a sketch, draw the manager or the boss, as it were, in his car. You know, he's in his car, he's driving. The next shot, you see him at the gate. The next shot, he's pressing his horn. The next drawing, the gateman is aware that Oga is at the gate. The next shot, you see the gateman running to the gate. The next shot, you see the gateman opening the gate. The next shot, you see the boss coming through the gate. Okay, and then you go on and on and on. So these are a storyboard that will allow the director or the animators to understand what exactly they are going to work on. I don't know if that's clear. I can send my slide later if anybody would like to have it, so that you guys can also share with the audience later on if I can't show it here. All right, so so the storyboarding process, like I mentioned earlier, starts with a script. You know, so what we do here in Spoon, the script comes in and, you know, we have a script read, director for that day or that project will come on board, look at the script, and then try and understand the script, okay? So the director calls a meeting. Usually, let's assume I'm the director. I call a meeting, I call my creative director, I call my story artist. A story artist is somebody who is a storyboard artist, but we call them story artists, you know. So what they do is they are top-level storyboarders who understand storytelling, okay? And I discuss the script with them, tell them my ideas, try and paint a picture of what I'm seeing in my brain for the script, how I want the cameras to look. I kind of discuss with that discussion, they ask questions, I tell them what they, and then I say, look, go ahead, show me what you've got, okay? So two of them go with the script and then they work on it. And of course, they do this step by step, drawing by drawing that I've just given you. So what they do is they sketch each scene, you know, focusing on action, dialogue, camera angle, and any other elements that are important in the story. Cutaways, close-up shots, you know, master shots, medium shots, whatever shots will be needed to communicate the story. Now, storyboarding, a lot of people think that storyboarding is just, oh, I can draw. I see a lot of people just say, look, I draw. That means I'm a storyboard artist. No, you're not a storyboard artist. Because you can draw doesn't mean you can be good in storyboarding. You need to be a good storyteller, for you to be a very good storyboard artist. So it's very, very important for you to be able to have a visual, you'll be able to have a bit of visualizing your scenes and breaking them into smaller pieces. And that's why sometimes I often tell people that if you really want to go into storyboarding, you might first of all try to go into comic book making. Comic books are very good because when you're a good comic book artist, it kind of gives an edge, on storytelling. You can tell a story into a comic book. It's easier for you to transform and become a storyboard artist by being good in doing comics. So I'll run along. So what tools? There are different tools. For example, before, even here, we used to use paper and pencil. You see us sketch on paper. We have these boxes. Each box represents a shot. Imagine a camera. Imagine you are taking a picture. So a shot is a snap. When you have your camera on your phone or snap the camera, you would have a shot. So that's a shot. So you need to shots. Taking pictures, like pictures. So you need to ask yourself, so for example, if the story is about someone who is angry, maybe the guy is angry, so you need to look for what shot will I draw in this storyboard that will communicate that this person is angry. All right, so for me, if I want to take that shot, I'll probably take a shot like this. So someone who sees that shot, he can say that this guy is shouting, his hand is on his hair, he's really saying something, he's pointing, and whoever is reading the storyboard can say, oh, wow, this guy is angry. Then the next shot can be the manager who is like this. He's just I could communicate that. So it depends on the story you want to tell. So you need to be sure to take the right shots, the right images to tell the story, so that when the director looks at the storyboard shots, he will see the story. Meaning, if there's no dialogue, if we're not getting anything, and you are looking at the storyboard, you can understand what the film is about. I don't know if that's clear. Are you getting it? So you need to storyboard artist. You can tell a story, you can tell a whole movie that has dialogue, but remove all the dialogue and they play your storyboard, and then everybody understands what you are talking about in your film. I hope that's clear. So tools for storyboarding, I've mentioned paper, pencils. You can either decide to scribble, it. Now, let me mention here that another point I would like to make is that you don't have to be a very good artist. You don't need to be fantastic at drawing to be good at storyboarding. I know a lot of directors who storyboard their shots. They're not artists, they don't know how to draw, but they understand camera angles, they understand camera movements, and they know how to put the drawings in the right places. And the drawings can just they can be like stick figures, for example. Just have stick figures showing the guy is looking from here. Oh, it's a close-up shot. Oh, the camera is from here. Oh, it's a wide shot, and stuff like that. So you don't need to be a perfect draftsman or an artist to be a good storyboarder. Although when you get to top level, you definitely need to know how to draw, because people want to see those characters in your drawing, or at least have a semblance of anatomy and know where the direction of the body of the character is facing, in your shots. And then later on, like I said, digital softwares, you can use digital software like Storyboard Pro, and some people also use Photoshop to also have their stuff done. So whether digital or traditional, you need to understand how to use the tools to create detailed and precise storyboard. Like I said, your storyboard must be something that people understand. All right. So let's move to animatics. What are animatics? Okay, what are animatics? Animatics is like a step higher to storyboard, meaning you can't have animatics without a storyboard. So animatics are actually storyboard frames that are placed in sequences with timing and sound. It provides a rough draft of the final animation, essential for understanding scenes, pacing, and flow. It's very important. Why? Because sometimes you might have a scene that you think the scene might take 5 minutes, but by the time you have the animatics done, you realize that it's just 2 minutes. So the animatics helps you understand timing. It helps you understand story flow. For example, you have a scene, and then in the storyboard, there is a cutaway of somebody picking up maybe a stone, or picking up his phone or something. And then on the storyboard, it kind of works. Oh, wow, this is a good story. But when you place on animatics, you realize that maybe, oh, it's not working. We need to see his leg to create a suspense. It's not suspenseful enough. It's not funny enough. It's not action-packed enough. We need more scenes. So the animatics helps you see. It helps you see this in real time. It's like the full animation, but you just have pictures. Okay, so everything you've done in storyboard is almost the same thing as what you have in the animatics. It's just that in animatics, you now have some missing shots. Like I mentioned, the angry thing. Maybe he's angry. He bangs his hand on the table. You might need a shot in between, to show that. Yes, then you see that missing, and help put timing. And it helps you to be able to put sound. Also, you can see the sound. You can see, okay, this sound is not working. This sound is not going well. Oh, this sound works. Oh, this sound does not work. Oh, this dialogue does not work. You can put your dialogue on it. Put a scratch dialogue. See how the joke works. Is the joke falling flat? Is the humor there? Is the action really timing? Is that hitting it? And all that, blah, blah, blah. So animatics is very, very important, especially for animation, because animation is very, very expensive. Okay, in spoof animation, we charge around $2,500 to $5,000, depending on the complexity of the animation. Now, imagine if you just go ahead and just without having an animatics, you just spend so much money, and then you realize it doesn't work. It's not good enough. Okay. You wasted money, you finish the animation, and then nobody wants to buy the animation because it's not well timed, or it's not well made, or whatever. So animatics helps you see the story work. It helps you see the story work. Okay, so from the animatics, you can see the story work. You can see how the story works. You can see how funny the story is. You can practically say this story is going to sell, or this story is going to be a flop, from the animatics. And that's why in major studios, you see them after the animatics, they go back and rewrite the story. They go back and write the script, because they find out that the script is not working based on the animatics they just watched. Okay. So the animatics, I believe I still have time. Please let me know if my time is up. The animatic process is very simple, especially when you have the right tools. You just need to import. There are several tools you can use, but I think the a very nice tool that you can use for for making animatics. And then Blender also has some tools you can use as well. So what those tools allow you to do is to help you digitize either your pencils or your physical drawings. You can scan them in, and then it helps you turn them into movies, helps you turn them into videos that you can watch. Like I said, animatics are just video representations of your storyboards. Animatics are video representations of your storyboard, okay? So that's what those tools allow you to do. It helps you import the storyboard, helps you add sound, help you edit, helps you find the timing. So it's up to you to choose the software that you would like to have. Okay. Storyboard animatics are very, very important. They're very important. And there are a whole lot of places that you can use storyboards now. Meaning there are so many careers you can go into, you can go into if you have these skill sets, okay? You can be a storyboard artist, you can be an animatic editor, you can even be a director, because if you are very good in storytelling, most likely, most people who become very good animation directors are people who are very good story artists, that's storyboard artists. Okay, so you can work in advertising, you can work in an animation studio like spoof animation, you can work in film, you can do storyboarding for films, you can do storyboarding for games, you can do storyboarding for advertising, you can, as long as any format that has storytelling, you can definitely work in that industry. So what advice would I give young people or someone who probably is in one field before and wants to cross over into this field? What I would say is, number one, do you know how to draw? Can you draw? Because if you really want to go far as a storyboard artist, you need to know how to draw. So I would suggest, first of all, going back to an art school or take some courses online on how to draw. Your drawing has to be on point. You need to at least know how to draw figures, know how to draw those characters in those stories, and present them in a very professional way for anybody to see and recognize those characters on your storyboard. You also need to go and study. If you can take a writer's course, maybe a course to understand storytelling, to understand how stories move, how stories evolve. Then finally, I would suggest if you can take a course on camera angles, understanding camera movement, understand what a track is, what a dolly is, what a close-up is, what a wide shot is, what an establishing shot looks like, and all that. I think these three skill sets, I think they're very vital for you as a storyboard artist. The drawing, that's writing. You not be a perfect writer, but at least you understand how to read a script. You understand how to read a script, understand the script, understand what the story is saying, and then finally understand camera angles, understand camera movements. Be a kind of cinematographer in your mind as well. Then once you have that lockdown, then you can now focus on the softwares that you want to use, you want to go into and perfect. I'll also say that one of the things that can help you is, if you're starting out, it will be advisable for you to be an intern, or because no one will pay you to be learning in their office. So internship is a very fast way to get into places and learn without necessarily paying them any amount. So with an internship course with the studio, you can always learn the ropes, work with a master, learn with someone who's already doing the trade, and then get better and get better. Join animation communities. You need to join animation communities. Go online, find animation communities that talk about animation, both local and abroad. Just keep joining, learning new stuff. And finally, try and attend events, like Lagos Comic Con, events that you have a garden of animation people, a garden of creative people. Lagos Comic Con is an event that has been set up to bridge that gap, to make career people meet employees. So if you are trying to work in animation, if you come to Lagos Comic Con, you can get to meet animation studios, several animation studios who are willing to recruit and bring you on board either as a staff or as an intern, you know. But then when you come to this event, you need to come with a portfolio. You know, a portfolio is like a collection of things that you have done, maybe practice or whatever you've done, you know, on your own, that shows that you understand what storyboarding is, you understand what animatics is, and you are ready to fit into a pipeline. Okay, because the storyboarding being a storyboard artist, you are like the first line of defense in animation. You are almost the most important person, if I would say so, in an animation process. So most studios hold storyboard artists in high esteem, you know, and that's why it's very difficult to even find good storyboarders, because they are always in high demand and everybody's trying to pitch them to work on their projects. I think I've been able to cover a number of things. I think I would like to stop here. If there's any questions, I will be open to answer, maybe from the audience or from the panel here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. The savior in our midst, Mr. Ayodele, was really a very enlightening section. Apparently, I thought I knew so much about animation, but then as the section was going on, I realized I actually don't know anything about this animation, apart from what I just see in anime. At least I watched Kung Fu Panda some weeks ago. So when you were giving examples of animated series, Kung Fu Panda, Frozen, Trek, I was really, really, really impressed. There's really a lot of intricacies when it comes to your work. So I'm actually have to appreciate you for your time, appreciate you for your insight, and then just to do a little bit of recap of your section, because I was really, really interested in your section, especially when you started to talk about Kung Fu Panda. That really got my attention. So you made some major points, and one of the major ones that actually struck me was animation makes you feel like a god. That's dope. I really like that, because you said you more or less have a drawing and then you breathe life and experience into that drawing. That's something I probably want to try out though. Even though they say I'll be a lawyer, I would have probably just stepped down, resign at OEN and say I'm going full time into animation. So it was really a nice one.
It's only your job, this economy.
I've been a point stake here, really. But so animation makes you feel like a god, and you divided on what storyboarding said. You said storyboarding is like creating a virtual script of your story, a virtual script of your story. That's majorly and simply what storyboarding is. And then it's always about series of sketches representing each scene in animation. You definitely spoke about breathing life into an experience into drawing. And then one major point you said was that storyboarding always starts with a script. Just as movies always starts with an idea, which is more or less like a script, every song obviously always starts with lyrics, which is more or less like a script. So more or less like storyboarding also starts with a script. So that was very, very noted. And you spoke about story artists. You said story artists are more or less like the professionals that understand storytelling, and they actually put it into storyboarding to transform it into animation. And then you spoke about some various creative skills that you need as a story artist, and then some materials that you need, or the tools. You spoke about paper, you spoke about pencil, which I feel is something you can literally get easily in this economy, no matter the economy. Paper is something you can get, pencil is something that you can get. So that was actually quite impressive. Yeah. Then you made a major point about when it comes to storyboarding, it's more or less about bringing drawings together without the elements of dialogue and without the elements of words. So when you see the storyboarding, you can actually precisely understand what the concept is all about, what the movement of ideas is all about, without the words and without the dialogue. So I also thank you for that. And then the major key point you also said, you went straight to animation, and then you gave a precise definition, which is that animation is a visual representation of your storyboarding. And you precisely said that without storyboarding, you cannot have animation or animatics, to be precise. And then it's more or less like the storyboarding is more or less like a draft, more or less like a first draft or a rough draft. And then the animatics is more or less to put all the missing elements and the additional elements to your drawing. Additional elements such as the sound, you put the dialogue, the virtual elements such as the humor, the expression, the sadness, the joy, all the missing components of the storyboarding is always found in the animation and our animatics. And then you spoke about some tools, some Tumblr, you also said a Blender. Apparently, tools I've never heard before in my life. Probably because I'm a lawyer. That's why all these things actually sounded very strange to me. But I'm precisely sure that if anybody sits me down and say, anybody ask me any question about animatics or storyboarding now, I can boldly say, without even coming up with lies or cajole, I can actually have something to say based on your experience and based on all the knowledge that you've shared with us. And you gave some intelligent questions, some intelligent career advice. So probably anyone that is diving into the career line of animation, of storyboarding, you said major things that you have to learn how to draw. 3 major components as career advice. You learn skills of drawing, learn to draw. Another one is storytelling. To actually be successful and actually be excellent in your career line of animation and storyboarding, you need to have the idea and the quality, the qualified skills of storytelling. Learn how to draw, number 1. 2, learn storytelling. And 3, learn all this camera management, the camera movements, more or less like the technical aspects that actually brings your drawing into the screen. So that's actually very, very, very straightforward and very, very understandable. So I really have to appreciate you for that. And then we have some questions
Before we take the questions,
okay.
I want to appreciate you. You are a good student, and you actually you are listening, and I must really commend you, because when you go for this kind of interviews, they don't listen, they're just there going off and offline, online, but you are jotting and you are really listening. And I must commend you. Listening is a very good skill, even in being a storyboard artist, because you have to be able to listen to the director, understand what he has said, and be able to regurgitate it back to him and give him what he has mentioned. So thank you very much for being a good student and making my time worthwhile, speaking about this topic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you most especially for being a good teacher. Without all you just said, I will not be able to make mouth I say I know anything about animation. So really appreciate you and extend my gratitude for that. So the questions we have here, we have one question by Faith Aminu. Faith Aminu asks, what free resources, maybe YouTube videos, can one watch to start learning storyboarding? I repeat, what free resources, maybe YouTube videos, can one watch to start learning storyboarding?
Okay, what I would say is, we live in the information age, where information is everywhere. I can assure you, if he just Googles how to be a storyboard artist, a lot of stuff will come out. You have a lot of resources, a lot of videos that he can watch. I don't want to recommend any here, okay? I would suggest that you go online, and there are lots of videos. I can tell there are lots of videos that you can watch for free, okay? But what I would like to say is that even when you've watched online, please try and find a mentor. Please try and find a mentor, because we live in a YouTube age where everybody's watching YouTube videos. It's good, but the problem with that is that it kind of becomes difficult for you to adapt in a team. Animation is a team sport, okay? So even though you want to learn online and learn all these things online, you need to be able to find a mentor who can mentor you on the practicalness, because there are some things it's like acting, it's like directing. You can't you can't really directing, but you can be mentored to be a good director, meaning that when you go to film school, what they will teach you is just basically some rules and regulations, how to do this, how to do that, how to do that. But it takes your intuition and it takes experience, you learning from someone who's experienced, to tell you, no, this script is not asking you for a close-up shot. This script is asking you for a medium shot. So you need a mentor to be able to help you guide, at least for the first few years of you being in the game, to be able to say, look, these are the shots, this is what this story is telling. This story is saying this, saying that. So videos to kickstart you to get your internet, but very vital. Your mentorship can be online or physical, but make sure you have someone who has gone ahead to mentor you even as you watch these videos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodele, for that precise answer. And a follow-up question that actually just came in is simple question. Can you mentor me? It's not.
Sure, why not? Let him reach out to me. But because of my busy schedule now, I may not be able, and that's why we have our internship program. We have an internship program where you can come in and intern with us, and then you can have access to me. Let me use that word, have access, because I can be very, very busy and I might not have the time to actually mentor you from afar. But when you are physically in the space or we have a closer relationship, then it's easier for me to do that. However, even if I'm not available, I can always recommend one of my guys who would definitely love to also mentor you and work with you until you get that level where I can now step in and say, look, okay, this is what you should do and all that.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. So another question, we have a question which I read. What's the difference between storyboarding for 2D and 3D? Secondly, is it a useful skill for 3D as much as it is for 2D? I repeat, what is the difference between storyboarding for 2D and 3D? Secondly, is it a useful skill for 3D as much as it is for 2D?
That's a very, very intelligent question. Very intelligent question. Thank you for asking that question. Now, there are some differences, between storyboarding for 2D animation and storyboarding for 3D animation. Now, storyboarding for 2D animation is often quite very detailed, okay? Is a bit detailed. You need to know how to really draw very well to do storyboard for 2D animation, okay? Because what the 2D storyboard does is like a foundation for the animator, for the keyframe artist to start work. Okay, so we always like that a 2D storyboard looks a little bit strong, a little bit firm. It's a bit detailed than a 3D storyboard. Now, a 3D storyboard can have a semblance of a live action storyboard, okay? Because for live action storyboard, you know that the actors are going to be there. You just need to position them where they will be. So for a 3D storyboard, it doesn't have to be that detailed. However, you need to at least be able to draw a circle and show where this person is and all that. So that's the diplomatic answer, okay? But I have realized this with 3D animation in Nigeria, because that's where I am playing. I have noticed that because the storyboard for the 3D animation is not detailed, because most 3D animators don't know how to draw, and they cannot afford to employ or hire a 2D animator from the 2D side. They end up storyboarding by themselves. Now, this is what happens. Usually, when you now watch the animation, it falls flat. It falls flat because there are some principles that when you are just doing sketches, if the director directing the 3D animation does not know those camera angles, the person might end up doing the 3D animation using the wrong lenses. The person might use the wrong lens in doing the 3D animation, and it makes the animation look flat. Now, we know that when you are using cameras can show whether your face is closer or looking off or looking far. Cameras can make the background look close or look far. If you're just using ordinary stick figures, the animators who are working, the 3D animators will not know what cameras to use for that shot. And that's why when you watch some, not everything, when you watch some 3D animation, they lack depth. They lack depth because the 2D storyboard was not well done. They just did a very sketchy 3D storyboard and then they pass it to the animators and then work starts. And for me, I campaign that please, let's go back to how it was done originally. Use the detailed storyboard. Please use it. It's very important. Why? Because you don't know who's going to be directing the animation. The person directing the animation might not have 20 years experience in filmmaking. Okay? It might just be a young guy, who just wants to do it. But if the storyboard is well detailed, it makes the job easier for the director. Okay, so to answer the second question, I'll say yes. 2D animation storyboarding is important for 3D animation if you want to do it right and you want to have that global appeal that we are looking for, especially if you're a young director or you're a young studio who does not have the experience of filmmaking on how to set cameras, how to set lights, how to set, you don't understand composition rules. It's better you have a professional 2D animator, 2D storyboard artist to do your storyboard for you, so it makes your 3D animation easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ideal, for that comprehensive response. So moving on with the questions. It seems you have a lot of questions, though. That's a good sign.
And that's a good, I'm a good teacher.
Yeah, exactly, you are. So this question is from Stephanie Modi. She says, good morning. You've explained storyboarding in regards to animation, which I am grateful for. But how would storyboarding fit into a regular film? Would we still need to draw? Or is there a way to translate that into cut? I repeat, good morning. You've explained storyboarding in regards to animation, which I am grateful for. But how would storyboarding fit into a regular film? Would we still need to draw, or is there a way to translate that into written cuts?
Another very good question. You know, I think I'm having very good questions this afternoon. This is a very good one. For me, I'm a trained film director. I was trained many years ago by Itman. So I'm a director, I'm a film director. I have a couple of films I've directed, live action films I've directed, lots of short films I've directed. Now, to be frank with you, I have over 20 years experience in filmmaking, animation, 20 years experience. And I've realized that even when I come on set of a live action production, I still get confused. Okay, so even now, and that's why when you watch, I'm not throwing stones or anything, but when you watch most Nigerian films, especially the Nollywood ones, you realize that it doesn't really, it's a bit monotonous. Let me use that word. It's monotonous. Meaning that you are seeing the same shots, 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 and it makes it boring. It doesn't, if you watch a typical A-rated American film, the beauty of watching those films, it's variety. You just see a camera angle somewhere, you see a shot you see a Dutch angle, you see so many variety of shots. You're like, whoa, how did they do that? Now, most people think that director goes on set and then voila, the inspiration comes on set and then he knows where to put the camera. No. Usually, the director already has a storyboard that says the shot must look like this. Hello? That the shot must look like this. So because the director knows that the shot must look like this from the storyboard, he goes on set and tries to replicate that same shot on set. Now, what it does is, one, it makes shooting films a lot easier. Now, realize that when you're doing live action, you are not going to be the cameraman. Okay? So with a good storyboard, if the cameraman already has a storyboard like a week or so before the shoots, the cameraman already knows that this lens will not work for these shots. There's no way you will show the background and you show the face, or you show the two lovers kissing and still show the perfume at the background in these shots. He would have known the cameras he would have brought on set. And that's why when you go on set, you find out that you want to take a shot. And the DOP says, look, I have that camera, I don't have that lens. I'm like, what do you mean? But I told you I'm shooting the shot. Yeah, but it's not in the script now. You didn't tell me that you are going to be framing all of them at once in one scene. So you are left with little options. And this is why storyboarding is very, very important, even for live action. Okay, storyboard is good for movies that probably have action, for movies that have humor. You know that there's a way humor can fall flat if you're not taking the right shots at the right time. Now, storyboard is also good for the editor. The editor can have the storyboard. If you don't have an experienced editor, a storyboard can help you move fast because the editor just takes your storyboard and has an idea of the tone and the pacing that you want for your film. Okay? And it's very important. And finally, storyboarding can help you raise finances. I can assure you, yes, I can assure you, if you have a multi-billion dollars film, like I heard Black Book, they spent over $1 million to make that film. But imagine if Black Book had done a storyboard or animatics with the music, sound, scratch voice, and presented to an investor. An investor is wow, this is going to be great. How much do you need? So before you go and say, the investor knows this film will make money. Even Netflix will know this film will make money by watching your animatics and say, wow, we need to put money in this film. We need to put more money in this film because instead of having just 2 tanks, we'll give you 10 tanks because this scene needs 10 tanks, not 2 tanks. Do you get what I mean? So it's very, very vital. And I believe that if we can move towards this storyboarding era in our filmmaking, even in live action, we'll see more films making box office hits. We'll see more films being cinema worthy because most of the films we have today are not cinema worthy. They just go to cinema so that they can sell it very well at Netflix. They are not cinema worthy. They are just television shows. They're just television shows that you put on cinema. And cinema is more than you just putting camera in one place and shooting. Cinema is beautiful. You know, I was watching this film, Dune, part 1 and part 2. Dune was beautiful. Dune was beautiful. You know, it was beautiful to watch. You know, it's time we start doing films that are beautiful to watch. You know, not just about selling the story. It's beautiful to watch. It's cinematic. You can't achieve that without storyboarding. You can't achieve that with somebody laying the groundwork. Sorry, I'm passionate about this and I'm talking a lot. I'll end here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ende. Thank you very much. Precise response. Yeah, it's obvious you're very passionate about it. And I my own passion, what you were saying when you started making mention of finances, that you can use your storyboard to actually get finance. I was like, wow, really? I don't know, maybe there's a way to actually integrate storyboard and animat into this legal profession. So we can have like a storyboard for every time we want to go to court. That this was going to happen, and probably give it to the judge, and the judge will be impressed that before this thing happens, you can see it.
Do you know that you as a imagine you go to a court and there's a murder case, and then you play an animatics of the murder case. Just like, oh, I can see what you're saying, I can see clearly, and you just win the case, and you
as in sharp, even senior partner self. As in the next 4 years. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I think one of the last questions that we have here from one Adebowale. Adebowale says, "Good morning, sir. Thanks for the training. I learned a great deal. I want to ask, does every change in movement of characters needs to be showed on the storyboard? I repeat, good morning, sir. Thanks for the training. I learned a great deal. I want to ask, does every change in movement of characters needs to be showed on the storyboard?"
Okay, the answer is no. No, not every movement should be shown in the storyboard, but every change in movement should be shown in the animatics.
Okay.
Do you understand? So, for example, a queen is coming down from a chariot, okay? A queen coming out of a chariot and a city girl coming out of a car. For example, if you are doing the storyboard, you show the queen in the car or in the horse cart, and then the second scene, you show the scene of the queen outside of the cart, in front of the cart, walking out of the cart. That's for the storyboard. But for the animatics, there's a way queens come down from their horses. It's ladylike, right? So you need to show her, first of all, she will turn, put her leg down, then she will stand up. That is the difference between a queen coming down and a regular city person coming down. A regular city person will just come anyhow. He's wearing jeans, just come down, you know. So animatics helps you put more character, gives more character to your, gives more character to your character. Let me use that word. Or gives more attitude to your character. So when you watch the animatics, it breaks those, you include those missing shots to show this is a queen, and this is how queens come down from the car. They didn't just come out with all their legs. They come out slowly, they turn first, they come down, and they go in. Do you understand? So, and a storyboard doesn't need to show that, but animatics need to show that so that the animators know, oh, this is a queen. These are queens come down from cars. They don't just come down anyhow. Do you get what I mean? So I think that's the answer to the question.
Thank you very much. So a next question. The question says, how do you undo changes in the script or storyline during storyboard phase? I repeat, how do you undo changes in the script or storyline during the storyboard phase?
During the storyboard
During the storyboard phase, yes.
Oh, okay. Now this is why you have to be passionate. You need to be very passionate, because as a storyboard artist, you have to draw. Because there's going to be a lot of corrections, a lot of changes. You have to be ready to draw. You have to be ready to change things, okay? In studios like Pixar and Disney, you see them, they will cancel a whole storyboard. For 2 years, that you work for 2 years, they will cancel it, everything, and start from scratch. Because when they watch it, it doesn't work. So they have to start all over again. Okay, maybe they will pick some scenes that they liked and all that. So as a storyboard artist, you need to love to draw. You need to love to draw a lot. To listen. You have to be a good listener. You need to be able to communicate, get feedback, and be able to understand what the director wants and understand what the script wants. Now, let me say this. Sometimes the script might want something. The director might want something else. Okay, so you as the storyboard artist must be able to merge what the script wants and what the director wants and put it together in your storyboard so that both of them are happy. Because usually the person who wrote the script is probably the owner of the story. The director is just brought on board. So you as a storyboard artist, you need to bring the vision of the writer or the owner of the story together to appeal to the director who's directing this film. I don't know if that's clear. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we have another last, I think this is the last question. The question says, professionally speaking, as a professional, what are the major mistakes that you have made in the past when it comes to storyboarding and animatics? I repeat, as a professional, what are the major mistakes you have made in the past when it comes to storyboarding and animatics?
Let me see. I think
it's deep.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges that I make, and I still make, is to assume that the storyboard artist understands the script, or to assume that the storyboard artist understands my vision of that scene. Okay, because it's a regular scene of somebody wants back from work, and then he enters his office and he sits down. It might be as simple as that. I just assume that this person should know how this scene should play out. But everything on the stage. So one of the I think mistakes most directors also make is to assume that the storyboard artist understands their vision. Okay, don't assume, and also as a storyboard artist, you must not assume that you know what the director wants. Don't assume. Go into his office, ask questions. Oh, this scene, is it action based? Is it going to be fast paced, or is it going to be slow? Is it a drama? Is it going to be funny? Do I need to go more on close-ups, or just want it to be a still far away shot? This romantic scene, are we showing full body, or are we just showing them have a kiss? You need to be able to sit down. So communication is one of the mistakes I think happens all the time when it comes to storyboard. And also when I even discuss with clients as well, when we have client jobs and clients give us advertising, I realize that most times the client doesn't even write a good script. They have it in their head, but they've not put it in the script. So when you finish the storyboard, like, no, this is not what I want now. The bed is supposed to be a double-decker bed. But it's not in the script now. Don't assume. Assumption is the mother of all, you know what I mean?
Yes, we do. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Mr. Adele. So there's another question that just came in now. This is from Ramat. Kind of a long question. So Ramat says, off the record, and considering your previous comments about most animations not being cinema worthy, I am curious to know if you think productions like Iwaju, Iyanu, and Malaika meet that standard. Why Iwaju has set a bar high for animation in Nigeria, I am not convinced that it meets those expectations. In your professional view, do you consider these productions to be of cinema quality? I repeat, off the record and considering your previous comments about most animations not being cinema worthy, I am curious to know if you think productions like Iwaju, Iyanu, and Malaika meet that standard. Why Iwaju has set a high bar for animation, I'm not convinced those expectations productions of cinematic quality.
Oh, this is a good question. This is a very, very good question. Although you want to put me on the spot, but our answer is, the answer is, you are right. They don't meet cinematic quality. They don't. They don't. Even Iwaju, that is like the best thing that we've seen so far, it still does not meet cinematic quality. But do you know why? The reason why it doesn't is because it was made for cinema. They are different. Iwaju was created for television. It was created for Disney Plus. I hope you know. It's a series. It's not a movie. Okay, hello? It's not a movie. It's a series. So, was Iwaju perfect for its purpose? Fantastic. They did a fantastic job. I've never seen the best show. In my own opinion, it's one of the best shows that has come out from this part of the world in terms of a TV show, meaning it's episodic. Okay, it's episodic. There's a way you tell stories for episodic shows. There's a way you tell stories for movies. Okay, so as a storyboard artist, if you're doing a series show, a television show, how you storyboard it will be different from how you storyboard a movie. This is very, very important. Okay, even though Iwaju had some cinematic shots in and here and there, but it's a TV show. I'm sure when Xavier comes on board as well, he will tell you the difference between writing for television and writing for movies. There are two different formats, and there are two different ways of writing the script. There are two different ways of even doing the storyboarding as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodele. I think that has come to the end of the questions. There's no more questions coming in. So just to move on, I really want to appreciate you, your time, your energy, your passion, because all the things that you said, even not for the passion that you actually put to it, there might not have been so much questions that were actually asked. I actually even felt the passion all the way from probably like 10,000 miles away. So thank you very much for the energy and for the passion. All the insights that you shared are very noted, very applicable insights, and I believe that our participants and our target audience will actually do well to undertake this. So, and also just to mention that on behalf of Ulisa Agbakuba Liga, on behalf of the Entertainment Practice Group, we appreciate your time. We appreciate every single thing that you actually said to us, your talking points, the slides that you actually, you said you will share with us so we can share with the target audience. We actually appreciate that. And then without any questions coming in, I have to say that this has come to the end of the first section by Mr. Ayodele Elegba. And like I precisely said, is the savior in our midst, is the one that is breathing life into drawings to turn them to animation, which I obviously cannot do because I'm just a lawyer. So thank you for that. And precisely just to make an emphasis that he's the founder of Spoof Animation, the only spoof animation that I've ever known in my lifetime. Is the founder. He's also the founder of the Lagos Comic Convention. Just to emphasize that the only Lagos Comic Convention that is in Nigeria or even in Africa is the owner. So when you hear Lagos Comic Convention, just come and hold him that this is the man, is the face and the brain and the personality behind this initiative, is the brain behind every single thing that we've read for more than 20 minutes now, is the God that is breathing life into papers, using pencils, and reading life into them and experience to turn them into animations. Thank you very much for your time. Really do appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm allowed to give away 5 tickets for Lagos Comic Con, five regular tickets to your fans at Lagos Comic Con. It's happening on September 14th. So please, you can find a way of giving it out to them. Send their names to me, and then they will have their 5 tickets waiting for them at Lagos Comic Con, September 14th, 2024, at the Landmark Event Center. Please invite everyone to come and be part of this glorious event. 6,000 people attended last year, and we're expecting a bigger crowd this year. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for inviting me, and I hope to join you guys some other time next time. Thank you.
Yeah, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So moving on about the tickets, we'll find a way to facilitate that, and thank you very much precisely for the ticket. If not, I'm part of the facilitators. And now I have to start using money to buy tickets now.
I think those people that ask questions, they should get the tickets, don't you think?
Yes, they will, definitely. And we extend it to any other person, but the people that ask the questions will definitely get it.
Let them get,
Yes. Yeah.
Right,
excluding me, Sha.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So moving on, that was a very, very fantastic section with Mr. Ayodele Elegba. So now, like we said, we have 2 sections for today. We just successfully completed one, and we are moving on to the next section that will be taken by Mr. Xavier, and its topic precisely is character design and development. And like I said when we started, I said this Mr. Xavier that I see here. I don't know how many of you have watched Shantytown, the only Shantytown in Nigeria so far, but I watched Shantytown, and then I got to realize that this Mr. Xavier that's going to be taking us is the creative creator and the head writer of Shantytown. And maybe just to boldly say that if not because of Mr. Xavier, there will probably not be any series called Shantytown. So I really have to more or less emphasize that Mr. Xavier here is a professional, he's a storyteller, he does a lot of things, he's a creative person, he's a kind of person that you obviously want to listen to. So just so I do not waste so much of our time, I'm going to call on my colleague BC to read the bio of Mr. Xavier, and just to precise and emphasize that the next voice you'll be hearing after the reading of the bio will be nothing or no one other than Mr. Xavier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ayo, good morning, everybody. First, I would like to thank my co-facilitator. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, we can hear Mr. Xavier. I think BC wants to read your bio to the audience before you come. If you can.
All right, no problem. No problem. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is BC Afolabis. I've had a good time today, and I must say that Sheon is not the only one considering the resignation. Maybe when Mr. Xavier is done with us, I'll finally hand in my two because I'm having a good time. So this is the bio of Mr. Xavier Irogoje. Mr. Xavier is an award-winning Nigerian-born screenwriter and is a resident in Nigeria. He's the creator and head writer of the Netflix blockbuster Shantytown, which was the second most watched African original TV series on the continent as of July 2023. The most watched Netflix African original TV series in Nigeria the same year, with more than 20 million views, as well as the most nominated TV series at the Night African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards same year. With over 5,000 minutes of primetime African TV writing to his credit, Xavier Irogoje has worked on either creating, head writing, or storytelling 7,000 minutes of story on primetime Nigerian TV, having worked on nearly all of Mnet's African Magic Showcase, its 260 episodes telenovela series. His most recent credits include head writing Covenant, the last 260 episodes political crime dramatic telenovela that aired for 1 year, primetime on Mnet's African Magic Showcase, with the final airing on the 29th of September 2023. His next magic trick for the network is a 130 episode telenovela that premiered on the 21st of April 2024, titled Dust. He is also the founder of the Ogbono Enterprise, a film and TV curation, development and production company. And under the Ogbono Enterprise, he has produced the 10-episode Accelerate TV hit web series, Big Book of Lies, with over 500,000 impressions on YouTube alone. And is currently showrunning a 26-episode TV series for African Magic called The Theory of Breakfast, available on Showmax. His latest independent project and third stint as a showrunner is a 5-part series titled Anatomy of a Predator. Xavier is also the head of screenwriting at the Ebony Life Creative Academy, where he tutored, mentored, and graduated close to 50 young screenwriters of African descent before moving to Canada. Interestingly enough, Xavier is also a writer of the documentary shorts, A Wheel of Iron, documenting the life of Iron Bender.
Sorry, is Bayo done? Because I think his audio has cut off.
The truth about Bay. Hello, can you hear?
Yeah, and I wasn't hearing for a moment.
I had a network glitch, so I think I called out. Where I stopped. Okay, did I stop? Okay. Xavier is also the recent head of screenwriting at the Ebony Life Creative Academy, where he tutored and mentored and graduated close to 50 young screenwriters of African descent before moving to Canada. Interestingly enough, Xavier Rogoje is also a writer of the documentary shorts, A Wheel of Iron, documenting the life of Iron Bender living under the second longest bridge in Africa, the Third Mainland Bridge, which won the Sundance Award for Best Documentary in 2014, sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The short movie, The Truth About BAA, also won Best Cinematography, Best Screenplay, Best Directing, Best Actress in the Lead Role in the Lagos 48-Hour Film Challenge in 2015, which earned him and his team the chance to represent Nigeria at a worldwide festival in Atlanta, Georgia, March 2016. Xavier Rogoje is credited with creating and writing companion material for Burna Boy's Grammy Award-winning album, Twice as Tall, 2020. He is deeply passionate about telling stories that explores and celebrates Africa's rich fauna and flora, interplaying with the diverse religious practices and spirituality in a tapestry of their culture as they navigate the human experience of being Black. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Xavier Rogoje.
Okay.
You have the
Hi,
floor.
everybody. Okay, thank you. I would just thank Bayo, I think, for reading out my bio. I didn't know it was gonna take so long to read. I thought he would be done in like a minute or two, so we'll get down to business because it's not like we have a lot of time. The topic I'll be handling for this session is character design and development. And I'll be talking about how to create appealing and memorable characters,
Great.
and also developing characters with distinct personality traits. Let's just get down to business because I have the next roughly, I think, 30 minutes to do this. Then we use the 10 minutes to take questions. Hopefully, if you have questions, you should have questions after this session. Now, we all know characters as the human beings or creatures that populate our story world, right? Now, each and every one of these characters that you would encounter in any piece of media, be it a music video, a film or television, an animation, a comic book, graphic novel, even poetry. each and every character you encounter would always leave a lasting impression on you, simply because of the fact that characters themselves are are creatures or human beings, or let me say sentient beings that have their lived experiences. So you see a situation whereby even a pair of twins that grew up under the same home may grow up to be two different people entirely, simply because the way they see the world would be very different from each other. I mean, even if they eat the same kind of food, even if they pass through the same kind of trauma, it's almost the same kind of reason why you say, oh, someone passed through abusive and decides to become a serial killer. Another person passed through an abusive and decides that, you know what, I want to do better for my children. Now, the question is, how do you create these personalities around these people? Or how do you create these character traits that would make these people stand out? A skilled writer or a good writer who is serious about their business would have what I call character cards for each and every major character in their story world. Now, in character cards, that is where you decide on who this person will become. Let me give you an example. When Ian Fleming, the creator and writer of James Bond, designs the James Bond character, there's always something he says when he gets his favorite drink. Now, his favorite drink, first and foremost, is a vodka martini. James Bond will always tell you for his vodka martini that he wants it, I think he wants it shaking, not stirred. James Bond always says that, shaking, not stirred. Now, I a lot of people don't know why. Now to the class, let's try to maybe give an answer on the chat here. Why we think James Bond always says shaking, not stirred for his vodka martini. You can put it if you have any ideas on that before I answer the question. Now, when you shake vodka martini, or when you shake, if you know your cocktail well, right? When you shake it, the ice in it dissolves. Sorry, when you shake it, the ice in it dissolves a lot faster than when you stir it. Now, the idea behind stirring is that they want the ice to dissolve slowly, and then the dilution process that the ice would work on the vodka or on the alcohol content to happen slowly over time. So you get a more mellow buzz, which means that when you drink vodka martini that is stirred, not shaken, right? It's the alcohol experience. And when you drink, now, when you shake it and you don't stir it, the ice melts a lot faster. And if the ice melts a lot faster, the alcohol is already diluted. So James Bond, being a spy, right, is already diluted, and then the flavor is preserved. But more importantly, when you shake it and you do not stir it, the dilution happens almost immediately. And the vodka martini is not as alcoholic because the ice has diluted a lot faster than when it is stirred, not shaken. Which means that James Bond, as a spy, his faculties can still be alert for a lot longer than when it is stirred and not shaken. Now, all these things reinforce the fact that the James Bond guy, he's always trying to hit on James Bond in the film. You can see that he always prioritizes the mission above anything else. This is one of the things that makes Daniel Craig's performance as James Bond very, very special, because you can see how he emphasizes all those things even at the detriment of personal self. Now, like I said, when you are developing or designing a character, you have to start asking yourself, what is this person like and what's the psychology of this person? Designing a character begins with getting a base on what the character is is the character. The first basic thing you want to know is is the character male or female, right? Because then that gives us a framework to which we start experiencing this person. Is the character male or female? What tribe is the character from? Because there's a very high likelihood that if the person is Yoruba, the person will like pepper a lot more than if he was from up north. Do you get? There and then if you are making him Yoruba for that reason that you want him to like pepper, then it means that pepper has to come to bear in your story. Even when the guy is talking about food, he should talk about spices or talk about pepper in such a way that it feels like this is something we haven't quite seen before on TV. There are small ways or on film. There are small ways we do these things for characters that just makes this character pop when we see the person or when we read about the person on screen or we see the person on screen. Now, so when we tell ourselves, okay, this person is male, the next question is, what's the person's age? Is the person an adolescent? If it's a young adult film, is he a young adult? Is the person in his mid-20s? Is the person Gen Z? Is the person Gen X? Is the person a millennial? Is the person in his late 30s? You can all agree with me that depending on the character range, depending on the character age, depending on and if we add to that the character's tribe, if we add to that the character sex, more often than not, this thing affects how a person would even speak or interact with you. I mean, if you are Yoruba and you have a 40-year-old uncle, right? The person's character would be very different from your 40-year-old auntie. Now imagine if we have a 40-year-old uncle that is a general. It would be very different from if we have a 50-year-old uncle that is a civil servant. Their priorities are different. The way they see life will be very different. Even down how they would dress would also be very different. That's a result of just the simple things we have used to texturize them. Now, if we decide to assign occupations to characters, you see how I just did it where I put one of them was a military man and the other one was a civil servant. It's very different. A civil servant typically would not be as time conscious as a military man would be. Because again, civil servant, there's a popular statement that, oh, now government work, you're not even for head, right? But then a military man who has, especially one that has been to conflicts, whether up north or south or west or east, right? That person is also going to be very conscious and also what's it called? That a civil servant would ordinarily miss. Now, if we say we are creating a character that is a civil servant, the question we'll be asking ourselves is, in what department would this person be working in? Civil servants who work in Ministry of Work and Housing, for instance, are very different from civil servants who, let's say, they work on the road. Like, let's say a policeman can be a civil servant because he works for the government. Or if that's who works in Ministry of Education, they are very different simply because of the kind of things they handle. Now, of course, there are similarities between these characters, but they will be very distinctive with how we decide to write them. Now, when you are considering writing for film or television, the thing is, you are trying to prioritize drama, irrespective of the genre you are trying to write in. The first priority is drama because drama is the reason why we are here. Conflict is the reason that brings us here. So in designing these people, you are asking yourself, what are the kind of elements you can add to them or remove from them that would affect the way they see the world and have dramatic consequences? To give an example, when we were working on Shantytown and the character Scar was being designed, I had written him to be, I had written him when he was named Scar already. The way I described him in the script, he was supposed to have like a gash along one of his eyes, and there'll be like a dead eye there. So he was supposed to be one-eyed. Now, obviously, because of production, setting up that one eye every single day of shoot was going to be like was going to pose some problems production-wise. So what production did was, okay, you know what, let's keep this Scar thing. Because what I wanted to do was do like a subtle homage to Scar in Lion King, right? But then they wanted to do why they said they could not do the dead eye thing or make the scar across his face. If you notice, Scar still had one long scar across one of his eyes, right? And that would tell you that okay, this person has lived like a hard life, and he is no stranger to warfare, right? So when you start seeing some of his violent tendencies, it becomes very obvious to you encountering him. And when he walks into a room, you know to expect danger because this is someone who has lived in that life. Now, in contrast to someone like that, the character RMD was supposed to be more depraved than um, outwardly dangerous. So because he is depraved, he should be able to effectively wear the cloak of a civilized person, but underneath it, we can reveal that, oh, this is how the person looks like. Now, in order to lean heavily towards the depraved side when we're writing the character, in the first scene we see him, he's talking about Lagos and the founding fathers of Lagos. And you are thinking, okay, I can learn Gutenberg Galaxy and all those things. And you are feeling like, yes, I can learn a lot from this person. And that also shows you that he is smart compared to someone like, say, Scott, for instance. But then he starts telling you that he has everything he wants in life, except one thing, which he craves, which is power. Like he wants more power. And that's one of the reasons why he wants to shut down this part of the enterprise and he's going to run for the position of governorship, right? You are wondering what kind of person has an organ farm, displaces people from their estates, and has Scar under him until you see how RMD behaves towards Shaliwa. Shaliwa was a character played by Nancy Simen. And you see how he debases her there and tells her to strip naked for his guards to search her. Now, when we do that, you get an idea that not only is this man powerful, this man is also psychotic. So, in contrast, why there are similarities between his character and Scar's character? Scar's own is a lot rougher on the edge and a lot more insecure than RMD's own. Now, when Scar walks into a room, from his character design and the way he walks, you know to fear him. When RMD walks into a room, the idea was that you know to respect him up until the moment where he does what he does to to Shaliwa. Now, the moment you see him and Iniedo in the room, you know to dread what would happen to Iniedo because of his interaction with Shaliwa. Now, all these elements are deliberate elements that you build or that you have to outline when you are creating a character. And the way I do that is I start by writing out these people, developing these people on a character card. So what you typically find in my character card, if you have any pen and paper, it starts from the very important information I want to be communicated by this character to also very random and useless things. Like what kind of food does this person like? We may not see the food, or what kind of drink does this person like? We may not even see those drinks or all those food in film. But it's nice for me to know it because I can put it into conversations, and I'll give you an example of it. Right. So I start by asking myself, what is this person's age? This person's tribe, right? What is this person's occupation? What is this person's religion? Does this person believe in God? This person what is it, right? And then asking myself these questions, I also think of characters I can loosely base this person off of. Now, in thinking of characters I can loosely base this person off of course, it should not be 100% accurate. But in having a template that I can tether this person to, it's easy for me to begin character studies on how this person would speak. When it comes to me writing that, it's going to be like this thing reminds me of this my landlord in so and so place. Now, from doing that, I start to ask myself, what are the person's strengths? What are the person's weaknesses? What are the person's needs? What are the person's wants? when I've outlined all these things, in fact, before I go into all these things, I start getting an idea for the kind of name this person will be called. Simply because now I know the character, now I'm very intimate with the character. I usually do not start by naming the person first. I may just call the person like a random name as placeholder. But then when I develop and I start writing these details in my character card, right, then I can now find an appropriate name for the person. Right. There was a guy that I did for a show, Covenant. And the guy's name, the guy was the MC Olomo in my Covenant story, which is the leader of the NRTW. They were called the RTW. It was simply the travel workers, right? Now, when I was naming the character, so at that time, I was also thinking, so I'd written all this, my characters and everything. I knew that I wanted to name him after, like, because after a slang, because most of all these people did not use their real names. So for this guy, I called him Were Wanle. The way the name came about was I think Portable song with Olamide had just come out that time, Zazuze, and it was everywhere. I was it just gave me different story impressions on how this character would behave, how this character's propensity for violence would be like, right? Simply because of how I had named the person. In contrast, there was another thug who was also who initially was fighting with who was opposing Weriwanle as the leader of the Road Transport Workers Association in Lagos. That character's name, we called the character Pangolo Homosex. Now, the character was supposed to be slightly effeminate, and there was a way, and he's so and he moved with a certain sass that was absent from a character like Where Wanted that was very macho. Now, from his name already, you start getting an understanding of what of the kind of work. I wasn't the one who named that character. It was someone else, one of the writers in the writers room that named that character. Um, you get an impression of how or the kind of life that this person has lived, especially in Islam, where someone is effeminate. It would mean that he would have to be very macho, and there are some kind of insults that people would insult him that they would dare not say to someone that is macho like Were Wanle. Now, you can see very clearly how in developing the character traits on your character card, you can now get a name that is like a cherry on top of the character, and that makes your story a lot easy to, and that makes your character a lot more colorful. Remember, the reason why we do all these things to make the character pop is because we are trying to lean towards drama. Remember, I said that initially. The only decisions we are trying to make are decisions that would heighten the sense of drama, heighten the sense of conflict, because again, that is why we are here. We are here to see, oh, two people are in love. What is preventing them from being together? If they are just in love, they get they marry each other, nothing terrible happens to them. The wife gets pregnant, nothing happens to her. The man goes to work, he comes back. We are not interested in that, because that's it. Like, what are we here for? There has to be drama, there has to be conflict. So from simply how the template of these characters are being designed, you can clearly see how sources of conflicts would come from. This, in a nutshell, is how to create appealing and memorable characters. Now, from a design standpoint, I'm talking about like those of us who are writing characters. From a design standpoint, these things that you've outlined in your character cards to develop these people, in a writer's room, we then form a character Bible for each of these characters that breaks these things down, including personality traits. Is this person sanguine, choleric, melancholic, or phlegmatic? Or are they a combination of two of these four, or three of these four? And which of them is the dominating personality trait? We do all those things, and then we write it out in the character Bible. That helps the casting director know that, okay, this is the kind of actor I think can play this character, or that I think can play this role. And then from there, it's simply going to be a breeze, because then from that place, we have a template of what the person would look like, the kind of outfit the person would wear, the kind of um what's it called, colors the person would fly, for instance. If you know, there is this what's it called? Let me just quickly check the name of the Oba, right? He is the, give me a second. The king of Iba. Yes, the king of Iba in Lagos State. The guy always wears one very big, long gold chain and gold on his wrist. Now, he's an Oba. He's very different from how Oba Elegushi would dress, or how the Oni of Ife would dress. But they, all three of them, they are all quote unquote royalties in their own rights. But if you were designing a character like each and every one of these persons, right, their background, their character traits, and their personalities will come to bear on how the person dresses us. So whether it's the person loves, does the person love gold? Does the person love fine wine, fine women? You know, I also said there are some kind of useless data. I also, well, they are not so useless because they help you, that I also, what's it called? Write on my data card, right? Yeah. So I also include all these things, and these things, they help, whether it's animators or costumiers or costume designers that are going to be designing the costumes that these characters will be wearing, makeup artists, they also help guide the art direction and the art department. This in a nutshell is what you do to create memorable characters. I think I would stop my session here and maybe get questions from now till we wrap up this session officially. Hope you were able to learn 18 or two. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Xavier, for the very, very enlightening section. The topic is very compelling one, as a matter of fact, which, like I said, the topic was character design and development. I was actually quite looking forward to it, because some of the major questions I used to have was, at least I believe a lot of people, especially in Nigeria, always have the same mindset, though not like it's a bad mindset, is that you watch a movie, you see the character development of the person. The person is all very wide and wild, very naughty, very wicked. And then you see the person in real life, and you start wondering, like, is this the person that was really wicked in this series? Because you now see the person in real life, and the person is so gentle. The person is very, very humble and very, very polite. And you're now wondering, like, these more like two faces. In movies or in series, this person is very wicked. Real life, this person is very gentle. And then that brings me my question, my own personal question, before I go to a recap and then the follow-up questions and answers section. My own question is, what do you think, personally speaking and professionally speaking, how do you think characters or actors actually manage that shift? They have their own personal biological character, and they have their own film character. Do you think it's sometimes, probably because they are so much invested in a particular film character, it mixes with their own natural and biological character sometimes? I don't know if you get my question, sir.
Okay, I'll try to answer it this way. Actors usually do what we call like what character study when they are given like a new material. Any actor, what they are waiting go will do a character study on the character and learn the personality traits of these characters and idiosyncrasies and everything. Usually the ones outlined in the character Bible, and also with respect to story that has been written in the scripts material that they've been given, right? Now, in being characters, before we even get into characters, so there's also the casting archetype. So you know those times where Patience Ozoko was always acting as the wicked stepmother. So people now expected her to be like a wicked stepmother. Because someone does very great in one character, every other person now decides, oh, I will write 50,000 iteration of this person for this particular person to act. There's also that one that goes into it. But a lot of time, a good actor, when they do their character study, they are able to fully immerse themselves into these characters. Now, if you as a writer or creator design a character that is very memorable and charismatic in the hand of a good actor that has done proper character study, even if the actor is, say, um an introvert, and the character you have designed is someone who is an extrovert. If they do immersive character studies on that extrovert, you will be surprised that this character is somebody else entirely, just because they've been able to immerse themselves in the material. But then again, it has to start from the material. It has to start from the material that they've been given, because the material and of course the character Bible that they've been given would aid these people in carrying out their further studies on this person and saying, okay, how will a serial killer behave? What kind of personality will the serial killer have? Do they lock themselves in or every time? What is their king and those kind of things? And then from there they'll be able to soak themselves in the personalities of these people. So that's usually how the switch happens. But then again, if you cast someone like an archetype, there would be no switch there. You would just expect that every time I see this person, the person says that's going to be a bad boy in another film or something. It's almost like the thing that happened to Jim Mike back in the days where he was almost like the abusive boyfriend over and over and over and over again. And you expect that when you see him in person, that's the kind of person he is. It's because you are not giving him any material that will challenge him from the archetype that has been created by, let's say, an industry or a series of writers for him.
Okay, thank you very much for the precise response. And I fully understand. Thank you very much for that. So just to go over a recap of your section, character design and development, you started with more or less like a scope or a definition of what it is when it comes to the scope of character design and development. You precisely said that it's more or less about creating personality for characters, either in films or cinema or TV. And he said some major things that every trait of a character must blend with the story. And must blend with both the story and then the individual distinctive character. Every trait of the character must blend with the story and the distinctive character. And then you made a very, very profound example of James Bond. That's Daniel Craig. I want to boldly and proudly say, like, I watched all the five franchise for
Daniel
James
Craig
Bond
films.
Yeah, I think it's just 5. Skyfall, Casino Royale, No Time to Die, Quantum of Solace. I don't know, although this is not more or less like the platform for it, but then I more or less watch a lot of movies. So, and I actually noticed that when you actually said it, that when you actually give him a vocal, he's always saying either you should shake it or you should steer it. And then you give them more or less.
Shake. He always says shaking, not stirred.
Yeah, he always says shake it. So the old alcohol can actually dissolve faster, and then it's always alert as a spy. It's always alert.
Yeah.
That's more or less where I actually got the scope that probably where you don't want to get drunk probably in a alcoholic environment. Just ask them to just shake it instead of stir it. That's more or less like
instead of stirring it. Yeah.
So I never knew that stuff, but then it's noted, very well noted. So you gave that precise example, and then you spoke about some major elements when it comes to character design and development. You said, especially for you, you always start with a character card. And you said that every character always have a character card for that distinctive personality. You also spoke about the major things that you have to consider, the factors or the elements when you're designing your character. You said you consider, first off, you consider the gender or the sex of the character. Is this person male or is this person female? Or probably both in the 21st century. You consider the age of the person, the age range, is this person Gen Z or whatsoever. You also consider various things such as the work of the person, the religion of the person, the tribe, the life philosophy of life. What's the major mindset or the belief of life? Those are the things that you use to build your own character. And then you also make major points where you said that sometimes when you make a new character, you just more or less reference it and existing a real life personality. So you more or less build like a naughty character. You just reference it to, okay, who do I know that is actually naughty in the entertainment industry? Real life, this person is a naughty person. Let me just carry all the characters or the personality of the person and use it to build my own naughty character, non-living thing, naughty character. And you also made some major key points. You said the character name. That's also another major thing that has to blend. The character name must blend with the personality of the character. The character name, the character Bible, you also made those ones that are more or less like the comprehensive elements of the character. And then you gave another precise example of Shantytown when it comes to Scar and RMD. Like when you see RMD, you see that this is a person that obviously needs to be respected in the series because of his whole Odogu personality. And when you see Scar, this kind of person that you see on the road and you obviously start running because you don't want to walk past him because of this whole fearful personality that you've actually been able to successfully give to him. So that's one of the major key points that I believe our participants right here are actually able to get from that. So I really want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. I'm able to really, really learn a lot, unlearn a few things that I put in my head and learn a few more based on the examples you gave about Daniel Craig, James Bond, Shanty Tower, and so others. So thank you very much for your time. So we just basically go now into the questions and answer. We have quite a lot here. So just to dive right in.
Okay.
Okay, we have, this is from Ramat. Ramat says, quick question. Are a character card and a character Bible essentially the same thing, or are they used for different purposes? I repeat,
Okay.
question. Are a character card and a character Bible essentially the same thing, or are they used for different purposes?
Okay. Thank you very much, Shane, for that thoroughly exhaustive review of the class. I think Ayo had mentioned it, but you do a very excellent job in recapping these things. So to dive straight into an answer to your question, the character card and character Bible are two different things. Now, a character card is what you use in developing a character before you go into writing or before you go into talking stories about him. I wish there was a way to flip my camera to show you what it looks like. So so think of a post-it note. Okay, let me just do something like this. Right. So this can work as a character card. On the character card, I have my name, age, this. They are just things I'm scribbling down because I am developing a character that I want to write about. So let's say, for instance, you have a story, boy meets girl. This person did not fall in love, all this did not happen, the grandmother doesn't want them to marry, blah, 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 because this person is a witch, whatever the story is. The question still remains, who is this boy and who is this girl? Your question now is, you take a post-it note and you ask yourself, who is, say, Dayo or Dakbo or Femi or Ifeanyi as the guy? Who is this person? You start with the person's age, the person's sex, the person's religion, the person's tribe, and all of those. Now, in writing this thing, you understand the person more. You can already see if, for instance, the person doesn't believe in God and the girl's father is a pastor, you can already get story ideas on how to shake up their relationship just because you have done the character card. Now, the character Bible, right, is different from the character card in that the character Bible is an official document. The character card is not an official document. It is for your own use, what you just develop on your, like by yourself, that helps you or aids you in writing. But the character Bible is an official document that will be shared to everyone. Now, within the character Bible, you now write things in an official capacity. The character name, the character age, the sex, the religion, who this person is. So you can say, Ifeanyi is an Igbo born, is Igbo, but was born and bred in Lagos. He's irreligious until he meets, let's say the girl's name is, give me a name for the girl. Let's say he meets Ramat and realizes that there is more, and realizes that there is a God who exists, even though he may not know him. From there, you now do what are his wants, what are his needs, what are his this. So those things you outline it. Now, when you outline this and you write this thing out, you compile the character Bible is not just for one character, it's for all the characters, all the main characters or main players in your story world. You now give this character Bible with your script and with your production documents to the producers. This would help them in casting, in doing auditions, and so on and so forth, right? But the character card is for you to help you develop a colorful and charismatic, or a colorful and exciting character enough that would make people come and want to watch this show and be like, this Ifeanyi person that you created is actually interesting enough for me to sit through and watch him on film or on television.
Thank you very much, Mr. Xavier, for the precise response. So moving on, there's another question here from Miriam. So Miriam says, and I read, "Thank you, Mr. Xavier. I would like to know more about the psychological background of a character. Let's say one is working of a female character." Let me come again, please. "Thank you, Mr. Xavier. I would like to know more about the psychological background of character. Let's say one who is a female character that is acting mild and reserved just to get what they want, only for the audience to realize at the end that the character is actually very vile. How can one develop such complex character who pretends so well? And how do we get an actor that can play such multiple personality very well?" I repeat, let's say one character who is a female character that is acting mild and reserved just to get what they want, only for the audience to realize at the end that the character is actually very vile. How can one develop such complex character who pretends so well? And how do we get an actor that can play such multiple personality very well?
Okay. I would answer this question, Miriam. Speaking on the psychology of a character, there is no character so complex that a writer does not understand them, because again, this character is a figment of the writer's imagination, and it's the writer that's creating this character. Now, the question you would ask yourself if you are trying to talk about or deconstruct the psychology of this character is you ask yourself, what does this character want? And why does this character want what he wants? Now, a character who, for instance, just wants to have sex with their boss and is pretending coy, but you now realize that this one is actually a man-eater, is different from a character who wants revenge on the boss for something the family did them back in a while and blah, 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 which is different. Do you understand? When you understand, so if you know what this character wants and why the character wants it, you can start constructing a psychological profile around these things. Now, the question is, why is the person acting mild or reserved? Is it so that nobody sees the person coming, right? If it's so that nobody sees the person coming, then you know that, okay, this person is pretending. Does pretense come natural to this person? Now, there are people who would act mild or reserved, not because they are pretending, but because they are dealing with trauma and they cannot actually show you that they are angry at you. So so when you have what this person wants and why this person wants it, right? Which is the goal you're put for your character, especially if the person is your protagonist, you have the goal that the person wants and why the person wants it, then you can understand how to build a psychological profile for the person. Now, this psychological profile, of course, will be affected by the person's past. Is the person an orphan? Was the person raised in a convent? Those kind of things by no means are exhaustive. Like when you are writing out your character card, go hard into it so that you know this person for certainty. And if they wake you up, and let's say the person's name is Sarah, they wake you up and they tell you, oh, Sarah just got hit by an Okada. What would Sarah's reaction be like? You would know because you've lived with Sarah on your character card for a long time and you've sold yourself into this Sarah, and you can answer these questions about this person called Sarah. And how do we get an actor that can play this person so very well? The thing is this: any actor it's almost like asking, how do we get a writer that can write a story very well, or how do we get a manager that can manage a firm very well, or how do we get a lawyer that can represent me very well or represent my interests very well? Anyone worth their weight in gold should have put in the work to do that. Usually there are audition processes, and during these audition processes, you write what you call audition sites. Audition sites are like 1 or 2 pages of story or scripts that you create that is different from, let's say you write the story on this character that wants this thing and this is how she does to get it, right? Your audition site can be on Okada jammed this person and how the character reacts in that situation. Now you give actors, you call for audition, you give actors the character sides or the audition sides to read. When they read it and they perform it, you can get an inkling, and then you ask the person certain questions about the character to know where the actor's head is for that character. The one closest to what you have or to what you have written or what you know, and the one who performs it the best is usually the one 9 out of 10% of the time will usually knock the ball out the park. Next question, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Xavier. So the next question is from Ramat. Ramat says, and I read, unlike live action films where actors can improvise and bring their own personality to scenes, is there room for similar creative freedom in animation? Or do voice actors need to strictly adhere to the character Bible with little scope for personal interpretation and improvisation? I repeat.
Oh, so okay.
Oh, no, if you heard it, that's
Yeah,
what
I heard
I'm
it. So I'm also looking at the questions here so that it's a lot faster for us to go through them because it feels like a lot, right? So I can see it. So for life, yeah, it's the same thing. Let me give an example. So there was an animated film that Johnny Depp acted in called Rango. He was supposed to be a chameleon that was a pathological liar, right? During the voice recordings of the Project Rango, you would also see Johnny Depp improvising certain lines. But then with all forms of art, your improvisation has to come from a place of deep understanding of this character so you know what the character will say, right? So you are not saying something that is different from the character that is written. You are saying something that enhances it. And when a writer or a producer can see that that thing enhances it, then they would create space for that thing to be done. And they would take those notes. These are also conversations that you have with directors. It's not as if it's when they now point camera on you or when they put you in the recording booth to start going off script. No, that's not how improvisation works. The way improvisation works, we would have done rehearsals. Then you would have had discussions with what's it called, with the directors and be like, oh, I'm thinking that in this place, this person should say this. And another director will ask you why if they don't agree. And then when you discuss, they will like, oh, that's actually true. And they can adjust, then you'll be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense for you to say that. Do you get? Or in scenes like that. Now, when your improvisation is not just dialogue, but it's action, that's for animation, that is very restrictive because the actor is not in charge of animating the characters. Do you understand? So, for instance, let me give an example. In Django Unchained, where Leonardo DiCaprio, he was talking, he smashes his hand and he smashes a teacup on the table and he cuts his hand and he uses the blood in his hand to rub the character's face. He actually cuts his hand and he rubbed the character's face. And Martin Scorsese was like, keep rolling that fucking camera. And no one cuts. And it just kept rolling like that. And we have that thing on tape. Now, it's different from animation because in animation, when you are doing a voice recording, it's a controlled space. It's just to the mic recording space. They may give you some props that would help you and all those kind of things. But that scene where he smashes his hand, there is blood, and he rubs his hand, those things will not come up because that precise the storyboard story has already what do you get in those particular scenes. So while you may be able to improvise certain lines, you cannot improvise actions because even in animation, each of the animated shots and all those kind of things, they cost it and they cost something and they cost manpower. And in drawing a budget, we have to know all the scenes that we are animating so that we can get the exact what's it called budget for each of these projects. So those things are usually not done, right? But for film, film has more leeway when it comes to improvising actions, right, over animation. But when it comes to improvising lines, both of them are more or less the same. Next question, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Xavier. So the next question is from Stephanie. Stephanie says, and I read, good afternoon. Thank you for this section. I think I've learned a few things regarding character design. My first question is, how can I separate my character from myself? No matter how much I try, certain personality traits of my character mirrors my personality, even when I write murderers.
So here is hoping that you are not a murderer yourself when you write murderers, right? Yes, hoping that you are not a murderer yourself. In the off chance that you are not a murderer yourself, or that you are a murderer yourself, you can't find me because I'm not anywhere close to you. But jokes aside, it also again your character. One of the reasons why it feels like your characters are mirroring your personality traits is because when I was talking about tethering your characters to someone you know, you more or less unconsciously or consciously or subconsciously, you use yourself as a framework. And after a particular time, realize that all these people are just different versions of yourself. And you don't want to do that. That is one of the reasons why I always advise writers to have a character card. So in the character card, you are writing these traits out. When you see a trait that mirrors yourself, if you don't want the character to look like you, you are telling yourself, no, this character is not going to be this person. What is the alternative I can use? What if I mirror it after that bully in high school who blah 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 blah? Or what if I mirror it after this person or something, something, something? Do you understand? So you can now start developing character templates that are different from you if you use those processes. Because if you are developing these people deliberately, it means that you already know the kind of character traits that they would have before they step into your story world. And from there, you can, like a surgeon, you can start cutting out the parts you do not want, the part that you feel like reminds these people of you a lot. Again, it's also not advisable to consistently do these things where you are creating especially dark characters after yourself, because after a while you the life becomes that you feel like, oh, am I not these people? Why these people? And those kind of things. You want to also present yourself that you need to tell these stories. You try as much as possible to make these people very different from yourself, right? You can tether them to people you know. You can tether them to family members. Do you understand? Nothing will happen because you are writing them after certain people and not yourself. But yeah, that's how you would. If you follow those rules, those simple guidelines, you'll be able to write characters that do not remind you of yourself, but then would also be very memorable and very colorful. In fact, they would also surprise you in very pleasant ways too.
Thank you very much for the precise response. So another question from Stephanie. My second question is, how do you write a well-rounded character without it seeming awkward and conflicting? I've noticed a lot of Nigerian shows have flat or 2D characters, which make it so that when the plot progresses and the character consequently progresses towards either good or bad, such progression feels jumpy.
Okay, so for well-rounded characters, again, it all starts from how you build this person. If you build the person and the character is layered, then when you put the character in your story world, right, the characters would be able to surprise you even as a writer. For instance, there's a current project that I am working on. In fact, that's what has been keeping me up all night, right? And in working on this particular character, I realized that the treatments I had, so I'd done like let me see if I can just show. Okay, so what I do is this. So I have like things like this, right? Which are, so this is like a digital version of like a treatment of a story that I developed for a client to work on. Right now, this story, I realized that even as I had done this, right? And so the digital version is here, and I'm writing off of this one. I also have like a Microsoft Word document where I've done my scene bits and all those things, and I'm writing these characters. I realized that there are certain things I had written in digital documents that executing it in the script would not be as seamless. And even there as at then, I have to start changing some things or putting script notes that, okay, when I'm doing my re-edits for my second draft, I have to fix this thing in story. A lot of times I won't fault. A lot of times it may be a skill issue. It may also be the presence or absence of time. If you give someone 1 week to write a story and deliver it sharp, would not be able to do all this process of writing characters, writing like a character, what's it called? Character cards to develop characters and all those things, because you are basically giving the person 5 days. The person will just start writing. And if the person is writing by no fault of theirs, they can only instinctively rely on plots that already somehow exist in their head. Now, there are, I think, about 33 or 36 dramatic scenarios ever on this earth that you cannot deviate from. Like this, whatever story you try to do, whether it's Matrix, whether it's Lord of the Rings, this 36 or 33, I cannot remember the number, but between 33 or 36 dramatic situations, you cannot reinvent the wheel. Now, any film they have seen, they automatically start writing like that. And you as an audience member, any film you have seen, you automatically start criticizing it based on that, and you already know where the story is headed to. What we try to do sometimes, knowing where a story is headed to is not essentially like a bad thing, right? It just depends on the execution and your ability to suspend disbelief and be in that story world that these people have crafted. For instance, let me give an example. In, say, for instance, Tribe of Judah, everyone knew that they were going to rob for their mom and they were going to get money, and then something tragic would happen to one of the brothers. But then last, these boys will either escape free or they will catch them. But that does not make it a bad story, because it still pulls you in the family dynamics, the comic relief, all those things. It still pulls you in, it still ropes you into that whole world, and it gives you that entertaining time. Whether it's funny, whether it's comedy you are coming here for, you still kind of have a good time. Do you get? So that you are able to predict it does not mean it is bad. It depends on how certain bits in the story is not landed. And again, the thing in landing those bits, you need to have time to sit with the story, especially if you have a good writer. Then you need to give the writer time to sit with this story and properly develop it in order for you to get a story that doesn't feel sketchy or feel like it was written lazy or feel like they jumped into conclusion. If two characters are even going to fall in love and it's love at first sight, we should know from the very first scene where we see them, right? The story I'm currently working on, two characters are supposed to fall in love instantaneously, and I realized that, but they don't have enough time. But then I'm like, okay, you know what kind of devices would I employ in order to make sure that these people are going to fall in love a very short time frame? And I'm like, okay, you know what? The very first time these people wrap their hands around each other, I want fireworks to go off. I want his pupils to dilate. I want us to do an angle on the hair on her hair, on her hands, like raising up. I want her breasts to, like, so that we know that, wait, there is something magical happening here. And then when the characters want to speak, there is this awkwardness. There is a tension that if you stick your knife in the air, you can almost cut the beef out, simply because of how they feel about themselves. And they are like, you know what, we can't do, before they even say, you know what, we can't do this, somebody sees them, somebody reports them, they are in danger, things just start happening and escalating from there. And then they realize that, okay, we are trapped in this place and we have to escape. Do you understand? So despite there's a way that could have been written and it could have fallen flat, but just simply by telling myself or realizing that, yes, there's a possibility of this thing to be flat, so I need more time to develop it. And now I'm now developing it for longer. And this is the 10. I haven't submitted the material because I'm developing it more or cooking it better just for the client. And I've sent them a message to be like, see, this thing, I dey cook am, just be patient. You would love what you get at the end of the day.
Yes, thank
So
you
yeah,
very much.
hope that answers the question. Yeah. So I think we
Yeah,
have one more question before
yes, one more question.
all right.
Yeah. So the last question says, thank you, Mr. Xavier, for the presentation. I am a big fan of your work. I have a few questions. First, what advice would you give to a young writer looking to develop their storytelling skills for film? Also, what are the most important skills a young writer should develop to succeed in the film industry? What role do you believe secondary characters play in enhancing the character's journey? I greatly admire your work and the impact you've had in the industry. Would you be open to, I think just, that's what I have.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like providing maybe like a mentorship thing
Mentorship.
and stuff. I think that's
Yeah.
what the person wants to ask. So let me start by thank you very much for loving my stuff. I am still committed to getting a lot better at what I do. Because this is like a lifelong craft. I'm still trying to master it and all that. With respect to like mentoring opportunities, unfortunately, my window for is kind of like closed. I recently accepted about like 5 new interns that I'm trying to train. And the way I try to do this is I train them, literally been training the past 2 weeks. I train them, and then I invite them into my writer's room, throw them into the waters and see those who can sing and swim. Those who sing, unfortunately, I can't take them any further, but those who are able to swim, or stay afloat, I know that it's are promising. I try to also give them other opportunities, even as I teach them. And they basically have me for free consultation, sort of unofficial in an unofficial capacity. So it's a big deal for me, and it's hard. It's not easy to get it, like, because I will be committed to these people for possibly the next at least a year and a half, right, or 2 years. It's hard. So, like I said, intense for this period. I'm not accepting any new one. But hopefully, as you grow in your craft, we'll be able to encounter each other and we'll be able to discuss and find ways to that I can also help you besides like an internship capacity. To answer your question, you were like, what advice would I give to a young writer looking to develop their story skills for film or television? I would say never stop learning. I see some writers' biography and they'll be like, oh, this person has mastered the arts of storytelling. I'm like, and you never win Oscar. You never win Golden Globe or Emmy. Did you now master this? If you're a master, you should have won all the, like, naturally. Do you get, like, so it's something you cannot be a master. You have to keep continuously learning. You have to be very, very, very open to learning opportunities. I still apply for opportunities to learn. I still read books a lot. I have a lot of books to read and all those kind of things. Or just go online and just read about stuff, random stuff, even stuff not related to writing. Read about random stuff that are not sourced from gossip blogs and all those kind of things. Just things that would increase your intellectual capacity and also stimulate you mentally. That will all creating like stories or creating certain characters or creating certain type of things and what those kind of people will do. So it's reading a lot. I would also say networking a lot. But I also know that not everyone's character traits or personalities is suitable to networking. There are those that are unfortunately painfully shy. So you read a lot. You have to also write a lot. If you say you are a writer, you have to write. And when I say write, it's not tweeting on Twitter or putting up Instagram or Facebook posts. It is actually writing scripts. A screenwriter is someone who writes scripts, who tells stories. If you have enough time to tweet, it means that you should have enough time to write. So read a lot, write a lot. And the more you write, you get to bring out those quote unquote bad stories. You get to tell them out of your system, and then you get to refine your art. And then you can shoot your shot. You send, like right now, if a writer sends me a script I think is good enough, that gets my heart beating, and I would find an opportunity for those kind of people. But then it's usually far few between. I have a couple of examples where someone has sent me something like that, and I'm like, okay, you know what? My next writer from this person has to be there. And so I've ended up working with this person for more than 6 years now. The person who also now actively works as my series producer on all my projects. And how did he start? The person just shot me a DM and was like, oh, can I send you a script? And I was like, let me have some time in my hands. And I was like, let me read this script. Apart from that, you said also, what are the most important skills a young writer should develop to succeed in the film and TV? I'm always adding and TV because it's not just film industry, film and TV industry. I have a list here on what I said, like young writers, and I sort of I always teach my students, even when I was at Ebony Life that time, right? So what I teach them is this. Give me a second, let me scroll to where I wrote these things out. One moment, give me a moment. Yeah. There are a couple of things I wrote here, requirements for young writers, and you may, if you have a pen and a Bible, write it down. The first one is your knowledge of English language. You should be able to communicate in English because that's our lingua franca. You can't be writing in Yoruba in a country, except you're in the Yoruba industry and all the actors and all the collaborators are all speaking Yoruba, then you can write a script in Yoruba. But more often than not, you write a script in English because there will be people of different tribes that will be coming on this script to collaborate with you to make magic happen, right? So I wrote knowledge of English. The second thing is excellent written and communication skills, right? So besides your knowledge of English, you'll be able to write excellently in English and communicate also in English, because as a writer, you'll be asked to pitch your story ideas. And when you are pitching your story ideas, you're going to pitch it in English. Persistence and determination, that's also something very, very important, because as an artist, you have to be persistent. There will be dark times, there will be depressing moments, there will be moments when you feel alone. You have to persevere. I also wrote excellent verbal communication skills, the ability to work well with others, the ability to use your imagination. Then you have to find new ways of telling familiar stories. And you have to have the will of fire, also known as the ambition and desire to succeed. And lastly, but not least, you would also need a computer and a screenwriting software. Those are the lists I always tell my students on the number of things that they should equip themselves with in order to be writers. I wrote this thing down here. I always tell my students in class, and it just felt like that was a question asked. Another thing he said was, what role do I believe secondary characters play in enhancing a character's journey? Um, yeah, because characters not like main characters do not exist in a vacuum. Secondary characters can motivate certain people on their
Right.
journey. The death of a character's lover or family, who are secondary characters, can motivate the character a lot stronger, right? So depending on how well, or depending on how you design the story, the secondary character can be very important. Or again, I always tell my students that a good script is like a model, right? There are no excessive fats in the wrong places. It has to be streamlined. Everything coming together has to reinforce the narrative you are trying to tell. So all these secondary characters, they have to reinforce the narrative you are trying to tell. I'll give you an example. In Shantytown, when Scar comes in, there are some characters called rats. These rats are like young people who just roll dice and they gamble and all those things. Why they may look as these ones are not even secondary characters, they feel like background characters, right? They are unimportant. But these characters are actually the characters who help Scar and a boy spy on the girls to see what they are up to. Do you understand? So they may not seem important, but then that already gives me like I can use those people as character motivations or development going forward if I'm developing any other material on this story world, which anyways, let me leave it there. Yes, and I think I have answered all your questions for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Steve. Apparently, one last question, which will be the
Okay.
last question, just came in. Short one from Mufe. Mufe says, and I read, what do you do as a writer whose craft is not very much a marketable genre in Nigeria?
Again, usually people would say, "Oh, why do you say it's not a marketable genre?" But I also know that I would also kind of understand what you mean. Um, but there is a saying that the sky is very big, it's big enough for birds to fly. Now, the birds flying in the sky, they are the masters of the sky. Let's say the eagles, for instance. Then there are the canaries, then there are the doves, and so on and so forth. Now, but you will not see an eagle in the sky at every point in time. There are birds that you will find a lot. Those birds you find a lot are the marketable one. Do you understand? Comedy, action, and all those kind of things. If your own is slow burn drama, then you have to research that line of industry and know what to do about it. A lot of slow burn drama are usually meant for like film festivals, and you have to ask yourself, okay, film festivals, how do I break into film festivals? I would also tell every writer to have a short-term and a long-term goal. The short-term goal is, what can I do now that will pay my bills and put food in my tummy and all those things? Now, whatever your short-term goal is, your short-term goal to provide and put money for you, it can be for you to write very marketable things, because that is the one that people are giving you a lot of job in. You cannot now be saying, oh, I want to write non-marketable things. It means you want to die hungry or die broke or die poor. Do you understand? So have a plan. While you are doing the marketable films just to pay bills for now, right? So while you are doing the marketable films just to pay your bills for now, you can now use those one while you are working on the long-term goal of your personal projects that are not as marketable, but then you are slowly developing it and putting out materials there. So whether you are sending out films into film festivals, you are applying for story workshop labs that would increase your stock as a writer, your profile as a writer, and also develop your projects. Now, in doing this quote unquote non-marketable projects, you can also get funding from a lot of international organizations, depending on what you're writing about. So trust me, even if your film doesn't feel marketable, with a good strategy, you will still break even in the industry. But again, please do not put all your eggs in one basket. Remember to spread your tentacles, have a long-term plan, have a short-term plan. The short-term plan may be survival. And whether it is writing Instagram skits, that is very, very fine. Do you understand? There's no crime there. Whether it's writing content for blogs and the rest, there is no crime in that. While you are doing that to pay your bills and everything, you are working on how to break through in your preferred sector. I think that should be all for now. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very, 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 very much. I don't know if everyone is just like me that have been so captivated by today's session. Indeed,
The
it has
pleasure is mine.
truly. Thank you. Can you see me? Okay.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you see? It has truly been so insightful and inspiring. Really, it has really been so insightful. First day of Between the Lines, a professional career workshop for screenwriters and script writers. We at Lisa Bakuba Lega, we are incredibly proud to have hosted this event for every one of you that has been so actively participating and making it so engaging. Well, as a firm, we are committed to providing legal support and guidance to creative professionals like yourselves. We believe in fostering a thriving creative ecosystem, and we are excited to see the part of this workshop on your writing journey. Now, speaking of impact, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to our phenomenal speakers for today, Mr. Ayodele Elegba, whose section on story building and animation was a masterclass in visualizing stories. His insight and practical advice have equipped us with the tools to bring our narrative to life on the screen. For Mr. Xavier Egoroje, who captivated us with his expertise on character design and development, his section gave us a deep understanding on crafting characters that resonates with the audience. I want to say a very big thank you to you both for sharing your expertise and for igniting our creative spark today. We are confident that the knowledge gained in these sections will be invaluable as we continue. And as you continue, each and every one of the persons that have been on this section and on this masterclass, as you continue your journey as screenwriters and scriptwriters and end users or persons that are interested to come on into this field. Look forward to welcoming you back on tomorrow's section, which is another day of inspiring learning, insightful discussion, and continued growth. I just want to say a big thank you once again to everyone. We'll see you then tomorrow. Thank you, and thank you very, 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 very much.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Xavier. It was nice to meet you too. Have a nice day.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And just courtesy of Mr. Ayodele Elegba, he gave 5 free tickets to precisely the people that asked questions during this section. So we'll make that available. We'll contact you, and then we'll let you know the modalities of you receiving the tickets. And just as Emmanuel said, day 2 is tomorrow, not next tomorrow. We have day 2 tomorrow, the same time, which is 11 a.m. West African time, and the same platform, Zoom. So thank you very much for being here. I'm pretty sure you had a nice time, and they will definitely see you tomorrow. Thank you. Signing off.